Hey, you're out in the garage with TheEZGZ. Boy, am I behind on my projects, but I'm not going to make a bunch of excuses. Let's just tear right into this. What we were looking at here is a 1776 that's going to be a single port build, single port heads with a single relief case. You can see by the side of this case right here that's open up that it's just a single relief. So this is an experiment for me. I want to see how it's going to hold up and how the oil pressure is, etc., etc. You know, I was thinking to myself, how can I express the importance of engine cases? You know, a lot of people think, yeah, you just, when your engine's wore out, you go and have somebody line bore the main bearings and you get bigger bearings and you start slapping things back together. And this is what I came up with. If you were gonna walk with your feet on a 1,000-mile trip and you were gonna start that trip and you had to pick out some socks, would you pick out these socks here? Let me see if I can put this thing on. See, these are a nice pair of socks, but they got a hole in the heel. See? I mean, you could darn that thing. My mom used to darn socks. Can you believe that? She had this wooden thing that she'd stick down in the sock, and it would make the hole stick out. And then she'd get this other kind of thread, kind of more like yarn. It was wider stranded thread, and she would sew that thing up. And then, you know, I'd be wearing it at school the next day, and it's like, God, I felt like I had a rock in my sock all the time because this thing was jamming me there. You know, it's overall, you know, it's not a bad sock. But for our little journey of 1,000 miles, would you want to start that journey with that old pair of socks, or would you want to take a brand new pair of socks? You know, nice and thick and cushiony. Well, I suppose you see where I'm going with this thing. These old magnesium alloy engine cases are like a pair of socks. You're going to line bore it and you're going to straighten this out. But if you look at this engine over here, this is the 1300 that came in my 66, and you know, I'd kept it around. I think I showed it in the last video. I should have watched my last video so I don't repeat myself here, but you know, I got to looking at this and I'm feeling down here and I'm saying, hey, that doesn't feel too bad. But just look at this case. Look at the inside of the case. Look at these cam bearings. I mean, that is black. That is black. This whole case was just so leaky and grungy and dark. And then I found this, where was it, that big hole here where water got in the case and it kind of corroded it right there. But overall, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know, I could rebuild that and I could do that. And man, I'm not counting this case over here that we're going to use on this build. I don't know anything about this case, but I can definitely tell by looking at this case that there's some serious issues been going on here. This thing could be twisted. You know, they use the inside here to line up one side of that boring tool, the part where your seal goes in, and then the other part of the crankshaft over here. Then they drill out all four of these. There's a cutter, and it drills out like all three of those at the same time, four of them. And it's kind of crazy. And these being both single relief cases, the discharge hole, look at the size of these pins. These are the 6mm oil pump pins, and this is what's stock. And look at the size of that hole there. This pretty small hole. And I had ordered, what did I order here? I ordered the 6mm pump. Let's see if I find it real quick. I ordered the 6mm pump, and they sent me a 26mm gear pump. Now here's the pump that came out of this engine. I had to pull it out of my spare parts, and it's got the small, the 6mm holes, and you know, you can see here that it just sits down inside there like that. And this is the suction side, and it's smaller as well. The pickup is smaller as well, and this one has got the smaller pickup on that, and the suction hole and the discharge hole are both smaller, but I had to pay extra for this replacement pump because I was just going to use the pump that the factory used, and it had 22 millimeter wide gears. See, these are the 22 millimeter wide. We'll just kind of, I know I'm kind of in a hurry here. I'm supposed to meet Mary, and we've got some places we got to go today, but I want to get something up. So this is like, it almost looks like a 21 millimeter. If you look at it there, because 22 would be clear over here. So it's even smaller than a 22, it's 21 and a half, something like that. And that's what came out of this, and that's what they used, and they worked just fine, and that's what the factories set them up. Whenever they made the change, that's when they went with the bigger pumps. And I know they made single ports earlier than that for the other cars, the Type 3s and so on and so forth. I'm not going to nitpick all that little stuff. If you're going to start that long 1,000-mile journey, if you're going to spend a lot of money on one of these engines, is this the case you want to start off with? I'm not so sure. You might really want to consider a brand new case. I know they're ungodly expensive compared to what they used to be. They've doubled in price, but you know, let's just face it, they're just, you can only get so much life. These aren't cast iron engines like, you know, some of the water-cooled cars, and they're not aluminum. Later on, they went to the aluminum engine cases. Anyhow, I'm spending too much time on this. I knew I was going to use that newer style pump here, and it has a bigger, I wanted to put the filter on it because this is from CB Performance, and they have a keyed gear shaft here, so it's not going to turn or move around on you or spin, and it's 26 millimeters. So I thought, well, what the heck. This one already had the 8 millimeter studs in the oil pump case. So what I thought, let me see if I can, God, I wish I could find that. Well, you know what? Let's just do it like this. This is an old German oil pump that I just now cut in half about an hour ago, okay? So why the hell would I do that? Well, for one thing, it was a used pump. It said made in Germany over here. Scheidegg is the people to go with nowadays. You're not going to get these old German, unless you find some new old stock someplace. But anyhow, I knew this was going to be accurate, and it's not like something I was going to rush and put into an engine right away. So if you look at the discharge hole, look at that discharge hole. It's bigger than the one in the case. The one on the left is bigger than the one on the right. And that is the case if you look in this. Now this one's got an extra complication because it's got this side fill. See, it doesn't have a discharge hole next to the gears. It comes out down here in the bottom, goes through the oil filter, and comes back here. Has to make this 90-degree turn and then come out here. Well, I didn't want that 90-degree turn, and this hole is bigger than that hole, so that means you're going to have this little lip in the way. Okay? So what I did is I took this burr, they call these a burr. This is the kind that you use for aluminum. And I just stuck it down in here because it looks like it's tapered, and the way it fit in the hole, I'll show you this one here. The way it fit in the hole, I thought, okay, I can taper that hole to match the oil pump, and it'll alleviate that turbulence there, make a nice transition. It's still got to slam into that 90-degree corner, and that's probably why you can get by with a 26 millimeter pump instead of a 22, because it's got to go through the oil filter and make a few turns, and by the time it goes back there, you've lost a little bit of pressure. I'm convinced of that. You can have your own opinion. Everybody's got an opinion, right? So what did I just do with that cut in half pump? Okay, so you can see I've got my Dremel tool here. I've got it hanging so that the cable is nice and slick. Somebody wanted to know and watch me deburr my engine around the cylinders, and you can see right here they had to increase the size of these cylinders for the 90.5, and there was a lip here and some stuff that looked like it might fall off, and you get some of that stuff all over the engine. So I just got in there and I was real careful how I did it. You can see the shiny spots down here and went around the edges, and now it's real. I don't feel it with my finger. I kind of took all the sharp edges off, and then after I used that burr, I smoothed out my the inlet to the pump, and you got to be careful. A couple of times the little sanding drum got away from me, and I thought, okay, I've opened that up, I've kept it round, I've done a pretty good job here, but I was like, I sure would feel a lot better. And this is the way I build engines, and this is why my engines last as long as they do, is because I pay attention to these details. And so to satisfy myself, I got this old German pump that I probably was never going to use. If I'm going to build a fresh engine, I want a fresh oil pump. I don't even measure them. It's just, that's not one of the places that you want to cut corners. So, at any rate, I put it on here, cut it in half. I put it in here, and I was thinking how nice this is going to look, and oh boy, see? I matched up the hole pretty good with the original hole. But wait a minute. Wait. Can you see that edge down there? From, let's say, about 4 o'clock till about 10 after to about 4 o'clock, I see a sharp flat spot. And that is where the momentum of the oil, you know, it's coming through here from left to right, and then it's got to turn in there, and then it's got to shoot up. And I don't want that right there. So I'm glad that I took the time and trashed this pump in the process. And this is a German pump, so I am going to take just a little bit more. But these are the kinds of things, and I didn't see this anyplace. I was thinking about spraying some paint in there, and maybe it would go down, maybe some Persian blue. But this is an oil passage, guys. This is an oil passage, and I don't want to get stuff. Yeah, I could have stuffed a rag down there or some toilet paper. I could have done a lot of things to stuff the hole and then spray paint down into the pump and have it come over there and leave a mark. But I thought this would work just as well. And so now I know where to grind, and I'll show you just how easy this all goes. I thought that was pretty clever. Look at that. I just kind of eyeballed it. I drove out the pin, and I'll keep this. I'll keep this in my homemade tool pile, and I've got the other half of it I'll keep as well. And that's what you do with it. So, yeah, let me put you on the stand and get you set up, and I'm just going to clean that up a little bit, and I'll show you how simple this is. And I'm just using a sanding drum, and I used the next size up to do all these edges around here. Get that out of your eyes, and we'll loosen this up, and I'll just show you the other side as long as we're doing all this. I got so much to do, but I want this to turn out right, even though it is kind of I'm more excited about what the oil pressure is going to be like. I had to drive all the way down to Denver to get new bearings, because I was going to use what I thought was a standard crank, and it turned out it was a 1010, and my 2020 crank looked better, and this is going to have a stock cam in it. So okay, they enlarged these spigot holes, and I just took the tool, and I just carefully went, you know, at an angle here, and I kind of went around the edges, kind of cleaned everything up. Now this port here is just a equalizer port, because the two pistons are swapping places all the time as the engines, and to relieve any pressure buildup between the crankcase halves, as you can see here, here's your cylinders, and here's this side, and the other side mates up in here. So to kind of like equalize the pressure, if you didn't have a spot for the pressure to equalize here, it would be going down into the oil and creating oil bubbles and agitation, and there's a possibility that you might be sucking air into your engine. I just noticed something else. Look how cockeyed this is. Somehow, along the line, this has gotten bent. I'm gonna have to roll that down. See, and these are, again, these are the things that you have to pay attention. You know what? I did drop this on the floor, and I see a shiny spot right there. This thing, I think it just got, whoop, look at that. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you another thing, just from experience, my friend just was going through this not long ago. Take care of this now while your case is in two pieces. Get this all set up and secure and holes punched or lock nutted and so forth. Man, is that tough to go through the little crack in here and try to hold the nut. If you undo this and it comes completely out, you got a nut rolling around in there. Not good, not good. Now I haven't allowed, there's a gasket that fits behind the oil pump. And of course this isn't torqued down, so, but I've scribed it. I probably could have done that when I started, but I just took the drill and that burr and kept checking it and measuring it with a pair of dial calipers, and I got it pretty darn close. But now I want to get it right on. Perfect, and I can see it. Eye protection and wear a mask. I'm just doing a little bit for the video. If I was going to spend more time on this, I would take a little bit more caution. But it's enough trouble trying to understand me as it is, I figure. And you gotta just go slow. I'm barely putting any pressure on it. Kind of looking down there, and I'm just doing a little polishing. It's this inside edge. That's the direction of the flow. It's just like porting a cylinder head. Take out any sharp edges or obstructions, and then you just kind of try it out, and then we're gonna look. Yeah, drop everything. Beautiful. Let me get you off the stand and you can have a look too. Dang, I do good work. But it sure takes me forever. Okay. See down there? Yeah, no sharp edge. A nice tapered hole. It narrows down. The oil's gonna have to speed up, but at least there's not gonna be a spot that creates turbulence and a restriction of any kind. That's what we're after here. Just trying to get away from that. Well, I've got some more information to give you on these lifter bores. I got some extra stuff in the kit, and if you're gonna do any of this type of grinding and things on your engine case, be sure that you have an engine case. This one is completely dry. It looks like it was boiled. It was a used case. If you have a new case, you don't have to worry about it. And you know, you don't have to go overboard with rounding things. You don't want to touch anything here on the center where your main bearings sit. You don't want to touch anything there. You sometimes they chamfer this edge. It's already comes from the factory with a chamfer on it, but if you're using a really high lift cam, you want to make sure that you don't have contact here. So one of the places that you want to have to check. If you're building a big stroker motor, you have to worry about the counterweights in the camshaft, and there's different areas in here that you're going to have to grind down, and it doesn't seem to weaken the cases. But, you know, you have to think about my original analysis. What are you going to do with this engine? You know, do you want to get 100,000 miles out of it, or are you satisfied to maybe get a few hundred miles out of it? If you want to build one of these big 2332s or a 2276 and you want to drive it back and forth to work on the street, you're going to end up like me, and you're going to say, gosh, I'm wearing out my big powerful engine. I don't care if you're putting out 150 horsepower. It's not going to put out 150 horsepower after 50,000 miles or 20,000 miles. So it looks like I've got this oil pump inlet thing taken care of once and for all, and we've got all the sharp edges off of things, and I tried to clean up this crossover passage a little bit. That had like a knife edge to it, and I just kind of took the edge off of that and rounded it. And because you've got air that's going back and forth on the inside of your engine. Guys complain about blow-by, and you know, you have ring blow-by, you've got turbulence inside your engine case, you've got heating issues. I just love these engines. I mean, there's V8s are cool and they make a lot of horsepower and they sound great, but you know, if you have problems with a cylinder, you can just replace the cylinders. You don't have to have some big production completely disassemble the engine, and you know, with a cast iron water jacketed engine, guys are constantly fighting with lifting their heads and having head gasket problems, and these things are just nice. There is no water in there to contaminate or mess with anything. Both good and bad, but it's so easy to replace heads, and it's half the cylinders, half the money, and a lot of fun. And you put them in these light cars, the power to weight ratio is fun. Look at the, you know, you hear them talking about different oil pans and baffling. Look at the baffles that they put in here. Look at all the nice little ridges that they put in here to help absorb and transfer the heat to the block and reject the heat. I mean, gosh, this is just such a well-designed, fascinating, polluting engine. You know, because it's air-cooled, it's got to be built loose, and it's a low RPM engine, but it's so much fun, and I just love mine, and I love working on them, and they're so forgiving. Yeah, these engine cases, you know, there's more than just the line bore. Line bore was part of it, but when the factory actually rebuilt these cases, they took the studs out and they could shave off sides of the case, and you make sure that the alignment was 90 degrees. You know, when you set your cylinder down here, you want it 90 degrees from your crank so that your piston isn't wobbling and you get the best ring seal for the longest period of time. Sure, you want all of that stuff. Anyhow, I think I'm gonna have to lock up the garage, and I got some errands I have to do today with my friends, so I'll get back to you at another time. Hope you have good luck with your project. It's wintertime here at my house, so try to get some heat out there, or bring these things are small. You can carry them any place. Send the wife to the grocery store and bring it in the kitchen. You know, that's what I do. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. TheEZGZ out. Put some cardboard down. Clean up your mess. Take care.
What's that cloud of dust? TheEZGZ. Gone?